I'm going to show you how to screen print koozies step by step, coming up. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, be sure to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment below. That will help our channel grow, so that way we can continue to make videos such as these for you. So let's dive right into this tutorial. Okay, so one of the first things you are going to need is a template or way to set up your koozie graphics that you will screen print onto your koozies. And we happen to have this template here that we put together, which you guys can purchase down in our link down in the description. So I have my artwork all set up, and this template does have an outline. It's two sides, so if you wanted to grab up this template and make your own koozie palette, you guys can go and check that out. But I'm going to print out this film, and then we're going to expose our screen, and then we're going to go to press. Here is our homemade koozie palette, in which you can use the template from earlier to make this, print it out full size, or you can use the measurements to make this palette. So we have our palette on press, we have our screen ready to go, in which we set everything up in that same template, and we're going to use our registration marks here in order to line this up nice and center on our koozie palette. That looks pretty good to me. I have my off contact set, so that way I've got about 1/8 of an inch. And just to double check to make sure my off contact is just fine, I'm going to put some koozies onto the palette here. So let's go back and double check. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. Now that we have our off contact set, I'm going to go ahead and tape up the screen just back over here. I don't really feel the need to tape off this part of the screen because there is no part of the koozie that will be exposed to this ink, but on this back side I'm going to do it for the sake of letting the ink go through the back of the screen here. Next thing I'm going to do is tape off these registration and center alignment marks. If you're doing a multiple color, these registration marks will come in handy. But I'm just going to tape those off, even though they aren't over the koozies and they won't print on the koozies, but I'm going to tape them off just in case. The ink I am going to use is NP Dry Fit White, and this is a low cure polyester ink, and I'm using this one because it's koozies and you want to be able to cure that ink at a low temperature, but also to prevent dye migration, keeping the dye from the koozies coming up through this white print. Alright, we're just about ready to print. I got my squeegee. Keep in mind, guys, I do have a smaller squeegee. This is a small run. We're doing 12 of them. I have my front and my back print on one side, and because it's a small run, I have it set up that way, so I'm only using one screen, keeping my costs down. If we were doing a large run, let's say 1,000 of them, I would generally put the front print on one side and then do the back print on another side, and I could actually use a large squeegee to do all 6 at once. But in this example, because it is a small run, I'm just going to use a smaller squeegee and do each side one at a time. So we got side 1, side 2. I'm going to go ahead and load up my other koozies, make sure I got all of my stations filled here. And we're going to go ahead and run these off, and I'm just lining these up to the edge of this palette here. And I'm going to take my ink, I'm going to flood these prints up. The mesh I am using here is a 156 because we have a little bit more detail going into this fish print here. Generally, I would use a 110, but because of the amount of detail going into this print, I'm using the 156. There we are, there's our first hit. Looks like this one could have went down just a little bit. Not a big deal. Still looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and, in this case, I'm going to flash it, like I said. This step isn't absolutely necessary, but I'm trying to build up enough ink and make this a really bright white. So let's go ahead and hit this again. I want to make sure to completely clear our mesh. There we go. That looks pretty good. That's a really bright white. All right, that looks pretty awesome. Now that we have our prints all ready to go, I'm going to set them on a conveyor dryer. And we're going to cure them around 260 to 280 degrees. Here are the finished koozies. As you can see, they came out pretty nice. One of the things you do have to keep an eye out for is, because these koozies are a little squishy and they do have a tendency to move around a little bit when printing, there is a little bit of a misalignment here where the koozie just kind of moved just a touch. It's not a big deal, but just keep that in mind. That can happen, and to just kind of take your time with them. Well, that's about it for this tutorial. I hope it was helpful. If you haven't subscribed, be sure to subscribe. What are you waiting on? Until next time, guys, we'll see you later.